There's a line we don't talk about enough, a fine line between being kind and being used, between being generous and being drained, between having a good heart and letting people walk all over it. See, the world loves a kind person, but it doesn't always respect one. And that's the trap. That's where the heartbreak comes in. That's where the betrayal cuts deep. You walk around thinking that if you give enough, if you love enough, if you show up enough, people will treat you with that same energy. But let me tell you something hard and real. This world doesn't work like that. The world is blind to quiet sacrifice. It overlooks the ones who bend, the ones who carry, the ones who bleed behind smiles. And if you're not careful, your kindness becomes a license for other people's convenience. You've been there, giving until you're empty, helping without being asked, showing up when you're tired, saying yes when your soul is screaming no, not because you're weak, but because you care. But caring without boundaries is a setup for disappointment, a setup for resentment, a setup for pain that feels like betrayal, but was really just imbalance. Because here's the truth. They don't feel your exhaustion. They don't see the weight you carry. They just see that you always come through. They just see that you never complain. They just see someone they can call when the world turns cold. And little by little, you start losing yourself in other people's problems. You start giving pieces of your peace away for free. Don't get it twisted. Kindness is a strength. But unguarded kindness? That's an open wound in a world full of sharp edges. People will poke at it, take from it, drain it dry, and then move on to the next source. Not everyone you help wants healing. Not everyone you love knows how to love you back. And not everyone you save would even try to save you. That's the hard truth. That's what you've got to wake up to. You can't keep giving people the best parts of you when they don't even recognize your value. You can't keep pouring into folks who only show up with empty cups and bigger straws. You've got to learn the difference between being kind and being available. Kindness doesn't mean access. It doesn't mean you have to answer every call. It doesn't mean you have to fix every mess. It doesn't mean you have to stay in places where your spirit is being disrespected. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It's survival. It's spiritual warfare. It's the sacred act of choosing your peace over their expectations. And that's not being cold. That's being clear. Because the moment you set boundaries, they'll call you selfish. The moment you say, "Not this time," they'll say, "You've changed." And you have. You've changed because you realized that not everyone deserves your softness. Not everyone can handle the weight of your kindness. Some people see your heart and think it's a weakness. Some people get too comfortable with your forgiveness. Some people take your compassion as permission to keep hurting you. And that's when you've got to draw the line. You've got to let them feel your absence. Let them experience life without your support. Let them sit in the silence they created. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop showing up for people who never show up for you. Let your absence be the answer. Let your distance be the message. Let your peace be louder than your explanation. Because the people who truly love you will understand your boundaries. The ones who only loved your convenience will not. And if that's how they loved you, through convenience, then that was never love. That was need. That was transaction. That was emotional dependency dressed up as connection. And you don't need that. You deserve depth. You deserve balance. You deserve to be seen, not just used. Respected, not just tolerated. Valued, not just visited when it's convenient. So I'm telling you, don't stop being kind, but start being selective. Start choosing who gets the light you carry. Start guarding your peace like it's priceless, because it is. Your energy is your currency, and every time you give it away, You invest in someone's world. The question is, are they building with it? Or are they just spending it? You've got to start asking yourself, who's really for me and who's just around me? Because not everyone around you is with you. Some people are just near your light, so they don't have to build their own fire. Some people only applaud when they're benefiting from your wins. Some people will celebrate you publicly and compete with you privately. And when you're too kind, too giving, you don't always see the lines between love and manipulation until you're left empty. Let me say it loud and clear. Kindness is not the problem. The problem is when your kindness comes with no boundaries, when it comes with no mirror, when it comes with no accountability. You can be kind and still say no. You can be kind and still walk away. You can be kind and still stand up for yourself. You can be kind and still demand respect. And if they call that attitude, let them. If they call it arrogance, let them. You're not responsible for how they label your healing. And you've got to stop apologizing for doing what's best for you. Stop feeling guilty for needing space. Stop explaining why you chose your peace over their chaos. Let people be uncomfortable with your growth. Let them talk. Let them question. Let them misinterpret, because they're going to do that anyway. The only difference is, now you're not losing sleep over it. You're not begging to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. This is what strength looks like in a world that feeds off your insecurity. This is what power looks like in a society that thrives when you shrink. You want to protect your soul? Then stop handing it out like a business card. Not everyone you meet is meant to have access to your heart. Some people are only in your life to learn what it feels like to be loved right, and they'll still walk away. But that doesn't mean you dim your light. It means you learn to shine wisely. So don't stop giving, but give with wisdom. Don't stop loving, but love with eyes open. Don't stop helping, but help from a place of strength, not desperation. You've got to love people without losing yourself. Support others without abandoning yourself. Be there for others without being a stranger to your own soul. Because if you keep giving your all to people who only give you pieces, you'll break. You'll start resenting your own kindness. You'll start feeling angry at the heart that once gave you power. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you to wake up one day bitter and burnt out, asking yourself why no one ever showed up for you the way you showed up for them. You've got to show up for you now. You've got to have your own back. You've got to learn to pour into your own cup. Because when you're full, you don't beg for crumbs. When you're centered, you don't chase chaos. When you're whole, you don't tolerate being broken to keep someone else comfortable. And let me remind you of something. God didn't give you your heart so people could trample it. He didn't give you your light so others could dim it. He didn't bring you this far to be emotionally bankrupt just to please others. There's a higher calling on your life. And sometimes that calling looks like walking away. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like no longer being the fixer, the helper, the always available one. You can be kind and still keep your distance. You can be kind and still cut ties. You can be kind and still hold people accountable. That's not being cold. That's being conscious. That's being awake. That's realizing that not everyone is meant to walk with you, and not every relationship is worth the toll it takes on your spirit. So what do? You become intentional. You don't shut down, but you get selective. You don't harden your heart, but you guard it. You don't stop being kind. You just stop giving people the power to misuse that kindness. You love, but with clarity. You help, but with balance. You support, but with standards. Because if this world is too blind to see your heart, then you make sure that heart is strong enough not to be destroyed by their blindness. This is your season to rise with wisdom, to stand tall in truth, to be kind without being used, gentle without being broken, loving without losing yourself. Because the world may not always see the cost of your heart, but you know it. And now, it's time to protect it. Let's get this straight. Kindness without wisdom is like fire without direction. It burns you first. And too many people out here are being burned by their own light because they haven't yet learned to direct it. They think that kindness means being silent when disrespected, that it means saying yes when everything inside them screams no, that it means fixing other people's messes while letting their own life fall apart. And I get it. You don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want to be seen as selfish. But let me tell you what's more dangerous than being seen as selfish: being seen as invisible. You keep shrinking to keep the peace, but now you're at war with yourself. You keep trying to be everything to everyone, and now you're nothing to yourself. That's not kindness. That's self-abandonment. That's not love. That's people-pleasing in disguise. And sooner or later, it catches up with you. You start waking up tired, not from what you did, but from what you allowed. You start looking in the mirror and not recognizing who you've become. And here's the tragedy. People don't even notice. They don't see that you're running on empty because you never showed them your limits. You never let them feel your no. You kept smiling through pain, and they thought it meant you were okay. So now you've got to reset. You've got to teach people how to treat you. Not by lecturing them, but by demonstrating it. By walking away from disrespect. By not answering every call. By saying, "I'm not available for that anymore." That's not rude. That's self-respect. That's the boundary between survival and burnout. And yes, it might shock some people. It might upset the ones who benefited from your silence. But the ones who really care about you, they'll adapt. They'll grow. They'll honor the new standard. And this is where it gets real. Some people will leave. They'll call you changed. They'll say you've got an attitude now. And you do. An attitude of self-preservation. An attitude of alignment. An attitude that says, "I've got one life to live, and I'm done wasting it trying to please people who wouldn't do the same for me." Because while you were sacrificing, they were celebrating. While you were stretching, they were sleeping. While you were bleeding, they were benefiting. And it's not bitterness, it's clarity, it's maturity. It's the wisdom that comes when your heart's been broken enough times to learn its own value. You deserve to rest. You deserve to heal. You deserve relationships where you don't have to perform to be loved, where your no is respected, where your silence isn't punished, where your peace is protected. And if that sounds like too much to ask, you're asking the wrong people. You're giving your best to people who can't receive it. You're watering soil that's already turned to stone. It's time to take your kindness where it can grow. Take your love where it can be reflected. Take your loyalty where it can be returned. Don't harden, just sharpen. Don't stop caring, just care differently. Care from a place of fullness, not emptiness. Care with a backbone, not just a heartbeat. Because the world is blind, yes. But that doesn't mean you have to keep losing your sight too. It doesn't mean you have to let the darkness around you dim the light within you. It just means you've got to carry that light differently. Guard it. Protect it. Aim it with intention. Because kindness with wisdom, that's a force. That's a superpower. That's how you change rooms without raising your voice. That's how you walk away without bitterness. That's how you build without being broken. That's how you live with a good heart and still get to keep it. Let's make one thing clear. This kindness of yours, it's not a weakness, it's a gift. But just like any gift, it has to be protected, managed, and respected. You wouldn't hand someone your house keys without trust. So why are you giving people full access to your heart with no accountability? You keep showing up, checking in, fixing things, being the glue. But who's doing that for you? Who's making sure you don't fall apart? Because if you don't start putting up some boundaries, you'll wake up one day and realize you've built a life for everybody else, but left yourself homeless in your own soul. And let me tell you something, you can't serve the world from an empty table. You can't heal others while you're bleeding inside. You can't keep being the hero in everyone else's story while playing the victim in your own. That's not noble. That's neglect. Neglect of your needs, your dreams, your health, your peace. And if they only love you when you're self-sacrificing, that's not love. It's dependency. It's comfort. It's exploitation wearing a friendly face. There comes a point in your life where you've got to stop blaming them for crossing lines you never drew. You've got to stop resenting people for expectations they didn't even know were hurting you. You teach people how to treat you not by what you say, but by what you allow. And every time you choose to remain silent in the face of disrespect, you validate it. Every time you say, "It's fine," when it's not, you normalize it. Every time you give more than you receive without speaking up, you train the world to believe your worth is tied to what you give, not who you are. But you're not here to be everyone's emotional dumping ground. You're not here to be the emergency contact for people who wouldn't even answer your call. You're not here to wear yourself out for people who think love is about convenience. You are here to shine, to build, to grow. And sometimes that requires cutting ties. Sometimes it requires walking alone. Sometimes it means closing the door to the past so you can finally open the one that leads to your future. This journey you're on, it's sacred, it's personal, and it can't be shared with everyone. Some people aren't meant to understand it. Some people will never clap for you, no matter how loud your winds get. Some people will always remember the version of you that was easier to control, easier to guilt, easier to manipulate. And the moment you rise, the moment you start choosing yourself, they'll call it arrogance. Let them. You don't owe them an explanation for your healing. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself growth. You owe yourself a life that doesn't constantly require you to break your own heart to keep the room calm. You owe yourself a space where you're not just tolerated, but treasured. And if you've never had that before, let this be the season you create it. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop settling. So don't stop being kind, but redefine what kindness means. Kindness isn't saying yes to everything. It's saying yes to the right things. Kindness isn't being passive. It's being powerful without being cruel. Kindness isn't staying silent. It's speaking truth with grace. Kindness isn't about shrinking yourself. It's about knowing when to stand tall and when to walk away. Because when you master that kind of kindness, you're unstoppable. You become the kind of person who can carry love without carrying guilt, who can help others without harming yourself, who can serve without being stepped on. That's the version of you the world needs, not the tired version, not the one drowning in expectations, the full version, the clear version, the powerful, peaceful, purposeful version of you. So now that you've seen it, now that you've felt it, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to go back to the same cycles that drained you? Are you going to keep giving your all to people who only show up when it's convenient for them? Or are you finally going to choose you? Are you going to honor the weight of your own soul, the value of your own time, the sacredness of your own energy? Because real kindness, it starts at home. It starts with how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, how you protect your peace, even when the world demands chaos. You don't owe anyone the version of you that forgets who you are to make them comfortable. You don't owe anyone your light if all they do is hide you in the shadows of their insecurity. And you definitely don't owe anyone a heart that no longer beats for them the way it beats for your purpose. You've spent too many years apologizing for your light, for your love, for your standards, for your presence, but not anymore. Not after everything you've walked through, not after every tear you've cried, not after every piece of yourself you gave away hoping someone would finally see your worth. You're not here to be invisible. You're not here to be quiet. You're not here to play small. You are here to rise. You are here to speak, walk, live, and love with power. And anyone who can't handle that power is not your burden to carry. You've got mountains to climb, visions to birth, a legacy to protect. And you don't have time to keep begging people to see what you've already been called to be. You don't need their validation when you've got your own confirmation. You don't need their applause when your purpose already speaks louder than the crowd ever could. So yes, keep your heart soft, but keep your boundaries sharp. Yes, be generous, but don't be drained. Yes, forgive, but don't forget the lesson. Because this world might be blind, but you're not. Not anymore. You see it now. You see who's real and who's just around. You see what's feeding you and what's depleting you. You see where you're growing and where you're just surviving. And now you choose different. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose purpose over people-pleasing. You choose peace over performance. And you do it not with bitterness, but with boldness. Not with resentment, but with responsibility. You don't have to announce it. Just live it. Just be it. Let your decisions speak louder than your explanations ever could. Let your silence say what your heart has known for years. Let your next chapter be so loud with growth that the past no longer echoes. And when they ask, what changed? You smile and say, I did. I stopped confusing kindness with sacrifice. I stopped trading my peace for acceptance. I stopped trying to be everything to everyone, and I finally started being everything to myself. You don't owe the world your burnout. You owe the world your brilliance. So take back your time. Take back your energy. Take back your voice. And build the kind of life that doesn't just look good to others, but feels good to your soul. You're not here to be used. You're not here to be overlooked. You're not here to be the background to other people's stories. You're here to lead, to heal, to shine, to speak, to love without losing yourself, to give without going broke, to walk into every room like you belong, because you do. So hold your head high, adjust your crown, and let the world feel what it missed while it was too blind to see you. This is your time now. This is your season to stand tall. This is your chapter to write in bold ink. And remember this, being kind is beautiful, but being kind with boundaries, that's unstoppable. If you made it this far, drop 100 in the comments so I know you're part of the 1% who's serious about growth.